and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. It's joining me once again at Greasy Rules 14. It's Brian Twining to talk the Xfinity 500. It's Martinsville time, and what's up, Brian Twining?
What's going on, Kyle? I mean, is there any doubt anymore who the best driver in NASCAR is?
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you say at this point?
2 weeks in a row, he was the feature guy in my DFS lineup. I don't know why I'm not betting him outright. I know the number is short, but I don't like. What are we doing? He's just
I mean, dude is just on an absolute tear. It is actually a shame though that he's doing this during a season with NASCAR where they have the new rules of the playoffs, because you know, when they go into that championship race at Phoenix, if he blows a tire, the championship goes out the window when he's been clearly the best driver the entire season. So that's the one downfall of this new setup.
As somebody holding a ticket for an outright, I would be very happy if it was signed, sealed, and delivered already, and it was just a formality at this point. But I don't know that we're that lucky, unfortunately. So we will take the breaks as they come, and we will roll. What the hell is this? We will roll with the punches. But we are here to talk the Xfinity 500. We're gonna do some betting. We'll do some DFS. Look for some opportunities for everybody to take advantage of and potentially make some money. And then Brian and I will hit our best bets and we'll get out of here. So let's take a look at the betting board this week. And we're at Martinsville. Party Marty is your favorite, plus 450. There's Kyle Larson right there, 5-1. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin. A lot tighter at the top. We basically have 8 drivers inside that 10-1, and all the way to William Byron at 11. Really, it is pretty tidy. And then we have Bell and Harvick, and then a big drop off to the next, Bowman, Busch at 40, and so. But where's your head at and potential dollars going? I
mean, how do you not immediately gravitate towards that 5-1 with Kyle Larson with how good he's been? I mean, I can see why Truex is the favorite here. He's won 3 of the last 4 races at Martinsville. So, I mean, he should be the heavy favorite. But when looking at the way that these guys are driving right now, for me, I'm skipping right over him, and I'm looking at that Larson, Elliott, Hamlin, even Blaney this week for me make a lot of sense at those increased or inflated odds right there.
Yeah, I like Truex quite a bit, and probably more at the from a DFS angle than DraftKings, or than the betting window, just because of that price. But yeah, I mean he's the favorite for a reason, as you mentioned. 3 wins in his last 7 races. 5 top 5s in that span, 6 top 10s. Like he's just
that's ridiculous,
incredible at this track. That this track used to be called something else, and then Martin Truex showed up and he's like, "No, we're gonna call this Martinsville." Beyond him, I like some of the names you mentioned. I think Joey Logano. I know I feel like a broken record, and you always go, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" But has a tradition of running really well at this track. Has a good average rating, performs well, tends to flirt with those top 5s, has a win, but that's all the way back in 2018, leads a ton of laps, just runs really well. But I don't know. Like, I feel like he's been kind of not quite at that elite level, at least as of late. I do like the Ryan Blaney call at 7-1, but if I can get Blaney at 7 or Larson at 5, I think I should just take Larson and not overthink it.
Yeah, especially for an outright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not get too cute.
I mean, this is going to sound disgusting coming out of my mouth, but Brad Keselowski is another guy at 9-1. I mean, he's, other than Martin Truex, Keselowski's probably been the best driver at Martinsville, except for the race this year where he crashed out of it prior to that, I mean, he was consistently running in the top 5. He did that for 5 straight races. He threw a win in there in the early spring race in 2019. So, at 9-1, if you want to take a chance, but like you said, I would much rather go 5-1 with a guy like Larson than take my chances on anybody other than, maybe an Elliott or a Hamlin to win.
I think Blaney makes a little sense. If you want to get a little bit longer, a little more aggressive, I think Christopher Bell is absolutely in play.
Yes.
Starting 12th at 20-1, I think he makes a lot of sense. Has run really well on short tracks. Ran well at Richmond. Ran well at Martinsville back in April. We've seen him pop when he performs well. He has a legit chance to win. Now there's also a chance where he could crash out, but that's why things like top 5s don't make as much sense with him. But I do like the outright number at 20 if you want to get a little more aggressive and shoot for the moon.
Yeah, and something I wanted to hit on with that as well is it's interesting to see the 8 playoff drivers as the top 8 basically odds at this track. I mean, you can go to DK, and if you think, or DK Sportsbook, and if you think that anybody outside of the playoff guys has a chance to win here, I mean, you're giving yourself a pretty big field, and it's currently 3.5 to 1.
Yeah.
If you think Christopher Bell, a William Byron who has been running really fast, if he can stay out of traffic and avoid the accident, he's got a good chance here. And then even like an Alex Bowman who has shown speed, these guys just got to get out of their own way. And then, of course, Kevin Harvick has yet to win a race this year. I mean, he's so good. I think playing the odds that eventually is going to happen. I mean, he's only got, what does he have, 2 races left? I
think that's an interesting bet in a way to, if you want to hedge against some of the playoff drivers. Could be a little bit fun, especially if you want to take a couple longer shots and then throw that 3-1 bet on top of it, or just take Truex Larson 3-1 for anybody else at the playoffs and see what happens. I think that makes a ton of sense. As we look at placings, as we look at other bets, is there anything garnering your interest? Any other longer shot, top 3, top 5, top 10 market kind of bets you're looking at?
Well, hitting on those guys that aren't in the playoff run here, looking at again, DraftKings Sportsbook we're using, guys like William Byron and Christopher Bell are both inside 2-1 to top 5. I mean, that's basically saying like these guys have a legit shot at this track. So, I mean, if you want to roll the dice and maybe take them on an outright, especially in a race like this, I'd probably rather go that direction than taking the, plus 130, plus 170 on those two.
Yeah.
But, looking at like the top 10 market, it's really not great when looking at, I mean, you have 12 guys or 13 guys actually at negative juice here to top 10, with the rest of them just kind of teetering right on the cusp. I think for me, Tyler Reddick at even money, top 10 is a possibility, but outside of that, there's really nobody that really catches my eye for the top 10 market.
Yeah, there's some interesting numbers. They did some playoff specials over at DraftKings as well, like in terms of like if you're looking to get a little funky. The Hendrick drivers have been incredible. If all four of them or all of them finish in the top 10, you get 5-1 payout on that. If you get all Joe Gibbs racers in the top 10, get 4-1. Some interesting numbers. Kyle Busch to qualify for the Final Four. No is -120. Yes is +100. That's kind of interesting.
What about Brad Keselowski, who, like I said, has been the second best driver at this track, to qualify for the championship +450? That right there, I think, is the better wager. If you're going to go Keselowski, I think you go with that in that direction than going any of his market values, placings, because he can still finish 5th, but say the other guys crash out and he accumulates enough points throughout the race.
Oh, this is fun. They call it Last Chanceville, which I like. One of Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex, Brad Keselowski, or Joey Logano wins the race, which we like all 4 of those options. +135.
I'd probably want that a little bit closer at 2-1. I mean, think about it. With Truex, Larson, Elliott, and Hamlin,
is your favorite. at plus 450. Keselowski would be the longest shot right there. He's like an 8 or 9. I don't know. That's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
I mean, it gives you a broad spectrum of drivers to potentially hit that, but I mean, it's going to be difficult this week with Chase Elliott trying to secure his spot, Denny Hamlin trying to secure his spot, and then Marty Marty, trying to secure his spot.
Truex is minus 130 to qualify. Blaney is minus 120 to not qualify. I was hoping I could parlay those on DraftKings, but it doesn't look like I will be able to do that. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano all finished top 10 at 3-1. Logano and Keselowski at top 5. So they do let you. They create the parlays basically and let you do it, which I don't know if I love it as quite as much. This one's kind of fun, and as we talk DFS, I think you'll see.
Let me see.
Tyler Reddick and Matt DiBenedetto to finish in the top 10 plus 425.
I could get there. I worry about Matt D. Like, he's really going to be pushing these last couple of races without a contract. So
William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Kevin Harvick all in the top 10 plus 550 is kind of fun.
Check out. I mean, mind you, it's 3/5 of the top 5, but Party Marty, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott all to finish inside the top 5 at 6-1.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're gonna get 2 of those for sure.
Yeah,
and then you're really just needing that third one to sneak in. And what'll probably happen is 2 of them will be like 1 and 2, and then the other guy will be like 6th. And
he'll crash out on
losing your mind.
Last lap.
But I think that is a good way where if you feel really strongly, like you're betting all 3 of those guys already to win the race, or you think that you're betting 2 of them, you could kind of add a little juice to your action for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and then I just taking a quick peek over at the top 20 market at DK, there's a steep fall off from like the top 24 guys. It goes from like plus 140 immediately to plus 240, and then in the 6s. So like the market here is really going to be doing like the driver matchups, the playoff specials, or maybe getting that non-playoff driver to win this race. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting betting.
Yeah, I think you have to focus on the elite group or focus on the guys that are fiddle faddling in the back. Like, I think there's a clear, like most races, some of them are up in the air. Some of them, we have our Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones and our randos that we love that pop up and have like a decent race.
Yep.
It really feels like Martinsville really separates the elite drivers from the hanger-ons, the guys who are trying to elevate their game. Let's shift our focus. Let's talk a little DK, and we'll start with your core this week. And Brian, do you realize that you're running it back with a majority of last week's core?
Yeah, man. I love these guys, dude. Chase Elliott, he proved me right last week. Got that second place finish. He was leading a ton of laps. I think that he's going to be battling with Larson once again this weekend because he does not want to be caught in a situation where he's having to push towards the end of this race. So, I mean, starting second, I think he's going to be right there in the early stages of this race. He's got the potential to lead a ton of laps. He's one of the fastest cars on the track. I mean, I can't go wrong with going with Elliott once again. And
he's 10-1, not 10,000.
Yeah.
Minor detail.
It's $100.
I want to make sure I fix that.
Yeah. And then I mean, finally, I'm on the Ryan Blaney train.
Welcome.
Yeah, you've been talking him up. His worst finish here in the last 5 races is 11th, which was this season. Previous 4 prior to that were all top 5 with 2 runner-ups during that period. And then he had finished in the top 10 in 5 of the previous 6 prior to last weekend. And, I'm factoring in the fact that he's on the outside looking in for the Final 4. I think he's really going to have his best race of the year, and he's been so successful here. So I do think that Blaney is a guy starting 8th who could sneak into that top 5. So I like him there. Tyler Reddick, I don't know, 8,200. He's starting 18th. He's shown the ability to mash together these streaks of top 10 finishes, and I think that he's like he's coming off of 3 straight prior to last week inside the top 10. So I think that he's going to move up at least a few spots. He's got a decently fast car. He's a good enough driver to potentially lead some laps here, as they're going through their pitting cycle. So At 8,200, I'm going to ride with Reddick again. And then Cole Custer, I'm going to run it back with him. He's not the greatest here, but he's been top 20 each of the last 2 races at Martinsville at 6,600, starting 24th. Give me those few placement points, and I'll take the 25 to 30 points on DK.
Yeah, I like the Tyler Reddick call. I feel like he's always a little pricier than you'd really want to pay, but I think
it is difficult with him.
That's what makes him interesting, because I think he's a little bit better than the consensus may think, and he's a little more expensive than the consensus wants to pay. But I think that makes him somebody you can target. I like when he starts kind of in that like 15 range.
Exactly. So like real quick, for me, it was like the battle between him and Alex Bowman. I mean, Bowman starting 5 spots ahead of him, but he hasn't been running all that great of late. Like the last 4 races, he's finished outside the top 10 in all 4 of those. And this is a guy who early in the season was looking like a potential playoff guy that could reach the Final 4. So, Reddick for me is the right move because he's driving better at this stage of the season.
Yep, I'm simpatico there. Not a lot of core crossover this week. Actually, there's nobody. But here is my core for the week. I'm going with Party Marty. I think he's a great value. I would not fault anyone who goes Larson to jump off the jump, but I think he makes a ton of sense. Super dominant. I think could easily lead a ton of laps, win the race, and be a big part of why you cash in a lot of DraftKings. I like Christopher Bell. If you look at his numbers kind of on short tracks in general, I mean, throughout the Bristol one, but ran well at Richmond, ran well at Martinsville, a guy who moves up on the track. He's starting 12th for this race. I think he has a chance to easily move into that top 10 and flirt with a top 5 finish. And as I said, at 20 to 1, I don't think it's a crazy bet to take him on the outright. So if he can go from 12th at 8,400 and somehow lead laps and win this race,
that's going to be huge.
You're going to be loving life in tournaments. So I think he makes a ton of sense. Never sexy, but Eric Almirola is always somebody I find myself gravitating towards. Much like Tyler Reddick, he's always kind of priced up a little bit, starting a little bit closer to the front than maybe you'd like, but has some decent results at Martinsville. Including back in November of 2020 when he finished 7th. I trust him to not absolutely murder my lineups and have a chance to move up a little bit. So I went that way. And then Matt D, 7,700. He's still, we're still working on a seat for next year. So, running with the Wood brothers, has had a couple chances to win some races this year, get them an official dub. Hasn't done that yet, but has had a run of success. Move 22 to 12th, or 12th to 10th, 19th to 7th. Like, this is a guy who's progressing, who's competitive, and can run well at this track. So I think at 7,700 makes a lot of sense. And you may have to dive down a little bit, but it gives you opportunity. I'm looking at my lineup right now, and with these 4 guys, you still have 7,200 per driver. So that allows you to kind of flirt around with the Ricky Stenhouse, Ryan Newman, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Cole Custer. Or you can dive down a little bit further, look for a little bit of a value, and then maybe go up a little bit higher. But if we put in Cole Custer's, Brian's guy, Cole Custer, Kurt Busch is now in play. I like him quite a bit. He was somebody that almost made my core. Ross Chastain's always somebody. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, and maybe you only use 2 of those guys that I recommended in that kind of that high 7, low 8 range, but there's a lot of value, a lot of potential. William Byron at 11,000, starting 11th.
He definitely crossed my.
I think that tells you a lot about where DraftKings expects him to perform.
Yeah,
and I think when you're, I like to use the betting window to kind of get my DraftKings thoughts, and then I like to do it the reverse, right? I like to let DraftKings say, "Hey, we price this guy up. We expect this to happen. Oh, look, he's a little bit undervalued at the betting window. Maybe there's an opportunity there. Maybe it's not even the outright. Maybe it's top 3, top 5. But Byron's a guy we both really like, who had a legit chance to make a deep playoff run. Obviously, that didn't happen this year. It's still very much in the cards for his future. It's very, very bright. But yeah, I think that one kind of jumped out to me based on price.
Yeah, Byron for me was a guy I almost went to, but I kind of going with the reverse positive jinx in this aspect, like hoping he does really well, and I didn't pick him. I mean, because when you go back to the betting board, he's the first guy not in the playoffs on the board at 11-1, and then there's a big drop off to that Christopher Bell at the 20-1, and then for Byron's top 5 number, he's at plus 130. I mean, he's basically even money to run inside the top 5. So that just shows you what the books are expecting him to do. And it gives you even more reason to think like at DK where he's starting is it 11th, he's going to have plenty of opportunity to move up. And if he's able to do that, then it would warrant that kind of cost.
Yeah. The betting books and DraftKings itself are both saying this guy is a lot closer to a playoff driver than he is to a not playoff driver.
Yeah.
And we're going to price him accordingly.
Exactly. And that's one of the things too that went into my Cole Custer call, because when you look at his odds, he's 4-1 to top 10, but he's 1-2 to top 20. So the books are expecting a guy like Custer to run inside the top 20, those teens, which I mean,
if you get a guy to go from 24 to like 17,
exactly. That's great. Yeah. No accidents. You stay on the lead lap. Like maybe you get a couple fastest laps. That's great for DK.
Yeah, and when you want to dive into the Martin Truex, Kyle Larson, 11K guys, you're going to need to find value, and Custer clearly provides that value. So I think that's a great pick by you. Okay, Brian, was there anything else from a DK perspective that jumped out that caught your eye that we didn't really talk to any Hamlin starting third, pretty affordable for all things considered, but
he's like that ninja, dude. He's quiet. He's quietly snooping around the top of the field every single race. So like I said, when first talking the outright market, for me, it's like the top 4 guys or bust basically for outright.
Well, and it's interesting too, because Kyle Busch, like the odds are saying he's not going to advance. He's not going to do that well. And he's starting a little behind.
I think it's because he's such a volatile driver. Like you see it. I mean, I don't know if it's just his personality kind of gets in his own way. He's a hothead, and he's a hothead.
But I do like, I'd rather go down to Ryan Blaney. I'd rather go down to Chase Elliott. I'd rather go down to Joey Logano. Hey, if you're gonna ride the Brad Keselowski train, I'm gonna ride the Joey Logano.
Okay,
train.
Here we go. We got a fun driver prop here. Joey Logano versus Brad Keselowski. They're both minus 110. I got Big Bad Brad.
We got to remember this for next week so we can actually talk about it. I feel like we've made a few of these bets. We never go back to talk about what actually happened.
Here, I'll write it down right now.
All right, Brian. We talked a little DK. We talked a little betting. There's one thing left to do. What's your best bet for the Xfinity 500?
F it. Chase Elliott. He's winning this B. 6-1. Chase Elliott outright.
Put your money where your mouth is, huh? They don't call it Martinsville for no reason. Martinsville is going to get Martin Truex Jr. is going to win the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. The season's coming to an end, Brian. We got to get a little
exactly.
crazy.
We got to go out with a bang
we can't settle for these plus 125 top 5s that aren't hitting. We need to go with the big boys. Throw down the stacks. I got Truex. I got Logano. You got Chase Elliott. You got the Keselowski. We'll see how Sunday goes. It's been fun to have a little NASCAR side screen while the NFL's going on.
Yes.
Mix it all in.
Honestly, half the time I have the NASCAR race going up on my computer, and I'm paying more attention to that now than I do football. And like football's now my job, so it's really interesting how like intense I've become into watching this.
It's been a pretty wild 2 years. We appreciate everybody who's been joining us each and every week. If you are enjoying the content, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you are checking us out each and every week. We're here. We're going to be here through the conclusion of the playoffs, which, Brian, we're a couple weeks away. Like we're basically there. And then Brian and I will obviously, we'll go away, but we'll be back right as the Super Bowl comes to an end. Brian and I will be back helping you preview the 2022 season, getting ready, new drivers, new cars, new owners, like all kinds of fun stuff. So
hopefully celebrating Kyle's Larson's future.
Please let me cash that 12-1. I have not hedged. Woo! I have not gone with another driver.
All in, baby.
I am Team Larson for the season. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the race on Sunday, and we'll talk to y'all next week.